Over the last year, I've been building my camera rig so that it's practical to use on different environments. And so I bought a cage, top handles, side handles, follow focus. But the last element that was missing was a matte box. And honestly, I didn't see the need for one. But recently I've been shooting a little bit more with this camera, and I normally use vintage lenses. And if you've never used vintage lenses before, they flare a lot. As soon as the light starts hitting just a tiny bit of the lens, the whole image washes out. And since I've noticed this, I started looking for the obvious solution, a matte box. And in the beginning, I was just gonna order a simple SmallRig matte box because it's small, light, and cheap, and it does what I need, which is block the light coming into the lens. But the thing is that my camera is a mirrorless camera, so it doesn't have any internal NDs. So whenever I'm shooting outside and I want a nice depth of field, I would need to bring an external ND. What I've been using so far is a Tiffin variable ND filter. The problem with this filter is that I think it's made especially for photography. So when you see it from the back, there's like no indicators to know what's your minimum and maximum. So if I used a simple softbox and just put this in front, I wouldn't be able to know what are my limits. Because of that, I started looking with matte boxes that come with variable NDs. But the one that caught my eye was again SmallRig. There were other brands that offered matte boxes with VNDs, but a lot of them had proprietary elements, and that's why SmallRig kind of caught my eye. In first place, it's a bit cheaper, and in second place, I can use filters made by other brands because it has standard trays for filters, and it is also expandable. So if I need to add 2 or 3 filters, I can just buy trays later that attach in front. It basically ticks all the boxes I needed, and the VND seems to be good enough according to some reviews I saw. But that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna test the VNDs, and at the end, I'll tell you if I think it's worth the money or not. So let's get unboxing. So it comes in a nice little case. In the case itself, we have all the adapter rings. So these are the rings that go on the lens to adapt the matte box. We also have the VND filter kit. As always, SmallRig sends Allen keys. On the other side, we have a rod holder for the matte box. This is the actual matte box. And it comes with the filter tray. Here's what I was talking about. You can put square filters that are usually what we use in cinema. It's also a modular design. As I said in the beginning, you can add more filter trays if you want to. So you just unlock this and take out the filter tray like this. And then you have the filter tray separate from the actual matte box. So here you can stack several filter trays if needed. It's really easy. Just put it, align it here, and then push it in and lock it. Now let's get into the VND itself. It comes with a little cleaning cloth, always nice to have. So it basically has a little wheel here that controls the variable ND. It has hard stop, so it stops, I cannot roll it more, and then I rotate it, and this is the darkest it gets, and again it stops. One of the complaints people have is like it's not as smooth, so you cannot change it on the go. For me, that's not an issue because I usually set my exposure for the shot and then I start rolling. Because the VND is actually thicker than the tray, you cannot just slide it in. So in order to put the variable ND in, you need to take away the tray holder first, and then you need to take this out. So without the tray in, you come in and you put the VND tray inside, and it locks in place. And then after that, you can attach it to the actual matte box. Make sure it locks in place and then slide it back in. And that's it. Your variable ND is in the matte box now. I'm liking this system a lot. I know I haven't used it yet, but I'm really liking the build quality and how easy it is to get it going. So the first thing you'll need to do is put an adapter ring on your lens. So I grabbed the 77mm ring. You still have a 77mm thread here. So I'll put my Black Promise here, and then I'll have the ND on top of it. Then you grab your matte box, your lens, you put it in. What's going on? I'm having issues with this. So as I was trying to install this, I've actually run into the first bit of issues with this. I think not all rings are the same. So some rings fit in more easily than other into the matte box. This is the 67 to 95, and it doesn't fit in quite nicely. I need to like wiggle it and then it goes in, but it was quite easy. Then when I do the 77 to 95, it doesn't really want to slide. I need to find the right angle because there you go. And then it's in, but I find that really inconvenient. We'll see if it gets better. I've done it a couple of times now and it seems to be loosening up. So yeah, I'm gonna mount it here and then I'm gonna do some tests to see how it works. So I ran a couple of small tests here in the studio just to see how the ND performs. So it's not a precise test, but it gave me an idea of what I can expect. I measure each stop and it basically does what it says. It's 8 different stops of ND filters. It's pretty similar overall. There's a bit of a shift on screens and certain reflections because an ND filter is basically 2 polarizing filters rotating. But because I use a color chart, I'm able to see in DaVinci how much of a shift there is. There is a shift between no ND and ND, but other than that, there's not a big shift. I'm quite happy with the results. But as I said, I shoot with vintage lenses, so I'm never expecting like perfection and pristine. I just needed a way to cut stops of light when needed outside. I took the camera outside just to play around a little bit with the ND, and I tested it at 20mm to see if I saw the matte box. I don't see the matte box at 20mm, but I do see more of a cross pattern at the max ND. So there's something to keep in mind. Of course, there's other ways to play around with the exposure, so again, I don't think it's a big issue, but I think it was important to say that I did find some cross pattern at the max ND. Now, I found a couple of problems in the design. Whenever I looked for reviews, people said like, oh, you can add a filter behind the ND filter, but I tried this and it's not possible. My filters stick out, so I'm not able to slide in the ND filter in front of an actual filter. Luckily, I found a solution. I put the filter on my lens and then I put the adapter on the filter and then I'm able to slide in the ND with no problem. I also find solutions for the other problem I mentioned earlier about putting in the matte box. First, it was actually easier to put it once the lens is on the camera, and I don't know if the vertical position actually helps. I put it in and out like 5 to 10 times and that kind of sanded the edges of the adapter a little bit. So now it's easier to put it in and out. I was looking online and they also sell like clamp-on adapters so that you don't have to screw it in and screw it out every time. Also, the matte box itself is not as deep, so if I have light streaks coming through without the ND filter, just the matte box doesn't do a big of a difference. But what I did was rotate the top flag so that if the light is coming from one side, I rotate it to cover that side. And that seems to work. The good thing about this matte box is that it's modular, so they also sell the side flags. For now, because I'm on a budget, I'll work around the little issues I found because the benefits of it is a lot bigger than the problems that it gives. The whole system feels really nice on the hands. It vibrates a little bit. Like when you walk and move it, sometimes you hear this, which can be a little bit annoying, especially if you have an onboard mic. In conclusion, I would say this is mostly for like solo filmmakers, especially if you're like in uncontrolled environments, documentaries or events, stuff like that. It is really useful and I would say it's reliable once you get it running, once you understand the parts and how to work with them. I'm happy to have this on my kit and I feel like it was the last piece missing to give my camera more flexibility, especially since I didn't have internal NDs. This is an all-in-one solution that can be expanded later in the future. So despite all the small issues, I would actually recommend it. You should definitely get it if you're looking for a matte box and an ND. Or if you're looking for an ND and you don't have a matte box yet, I think the extra money is worth it. I hope this overview and comments were useful to you guys. If you have any other questions about this product, you can leave them below and I'll try to answer them. If you liked the video, please leave a like, subscribe, there's more videos coming, and see you next time.